All right, let's take this out to 30,000 feet then. Giants of CONCACAF, the ongoing question, MLS versus Liga MX. After the latest CONCACAF Champions Cup results, what do we think of the gap between the Mexican top flight and the American top flight?
I mean, Seb, we've had this discussion a million times, and my, posture has not changed on this. I still feel the same. If you go high-end Liga MX versus high-end MLS, I still think the high-end Liga MX will consistently beat out the higher end of Major League Soccer. It's everywhere else that Liga MX has to worry about. It's when you start going past that fourth, fifth, team that you're starting thinking, okay, what about the rest of these teams? Where can they compete? But when you look at these numbers, Seb, and this isn't overall, this is this edition. Look how dominant Liga MX was over Major League Soccer. When you see how dominant they were in Mexico, it just really makes me think of only one thing. How very little Leagues Cup actually means. It's very easy to play in the comfort of your home, and it's very, very much so a game. These teams, Mexican teams and MLS teams, when you play in the States, it's much more competitive, and you see games that are very good games. But as they've been since the start of time in this competition, it is now. It, for whatever reason, is a crazy amount of effort to no avail for Major League Soccer to win, for Major League Soccer to get 3 points, get a draw, to get whatever the case may be, to any sort of favorable result. Less and less it happens in Mexico. So Leagues Cup, while it may be fun for you to have this little tournament in your house, it goes to show you that when it's home and away, you're not going to see these results happen, and you're going to see more lopsided affairs on the Mexican side.
So in the new format, we don't have group phase, right? The old CONCACAF Champions League, we used to have the group phase. Now we start at round of 32. We go straight into the knockouts. If you look at the knockout round matchups, which is the essence of this tournament, you had 10 wins for Liga MX. You had only 2 for Major League Soccer over Liga MX. And those 2, Herc, belonged to one team. Yeah. That was the Columbus Crew against Rayados. And it was actually just against one team, so it might have been just a matchup thing, because you think about the series with Tigres, yes, they advanced, but they ended up tying both games. So MLS doesn't really have a lot of examples here in this tournament, despite the Crew's success of them being able to beat MLS teams. You can see there's a great MLS team in Columbus Crew, great organization, great spending, smart spending. They can compete. Every once in a while, they can beat a team. They beat Rayados. Remember, they didn't really beat Tigres. They couldn't beat Pachuca. So we're still even a step away from dominating Liga MX, which I think is what the conversation is, what MLS people want it to be. But the reality here, Hurt, is that right now, MLS is so far from it. And I just wonder if when the best representation of your league goes to Pachuca, again, not the biggest spending team in Liga MX, and gets hammered 3-0 in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, costing you at least one spot in the next FIFA Club World Cup, which we know the folks at MLS headquarters are very, very focused on. Do you think this in any way might open some eyes, might open some minds in MLS about spending more? Because I know the comparison is easy to say here, well, look, Pachuca don't spend that much. Actually, the Crew outspend Pachuca. But the reality is this. The Crew are still limited in how they spend. They're limited in how they can build their roster. It has to be top-heavy. They have to spend on guys like Diego Rossi and Cucho Hernandez. If those limitations weren't there, I bet the Crew could build a pretty damn good roster that could beat some of these teams, as opposed to just being able to compete with them and every once in a while getting a win against Rayados.
That's their own damn fault. That's their own doing. That's like Pachuca saying, well, if we had that much money, we can get a Messi as well. Okay, but you don't. That's a reality, and you do this to yourself. There's no doubt that a lot of Major League Soccer clubs could be very much more competitive in this tournament because they're going to spend more money, they're going to attract more talent, but you don't. These handcuffs that you have on, you put them on yourselves. That's the worst thing. So I don't feel, listen, Pachuca, you cannot convince me that by any means Pachuca's your standard Liga MX club that spend. No, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. There were 9 academy products out there last night. Or the night they played this final. This is a team that produces players. I guarantee you there are more top earners, salary-wise and transfer-wise, on that Columbus Crew team. But this is what you do to yourself. So I don't feel like that's the case, because we could say, well, if they spend, they could do it. Well, that's your own damn fault.
Yeah, no, I understand that it's their fault. The question is, will being able to spend more freely actually lead MLS to being able to beat Liga MX? Is that the thing that's holding them back? I think it is. You don't?
Of course, it's money. But that's what it is anywhere in the world, Seb. And when the numbers...
It's not money here. It's not money. MLS owners have more money than Liga MX owners.
It is money. It is money.
It's the unwillingness to spend money.
No,
and it's the
money.
rules around the limitations on spending money.
They just don't spend it wisely. You can't tell me that you can spend whatever you want on a VP.
Come on, there's guys on $100,000 out there. You know, there are guys on very little money, and that's reflective of the quality of player you have. That's because MLS has to have low-paying, like bottom-of-the-barrel guys in the roster. That's how you fill out a roster.
Stop for a second. You see the players on Pachuca, number 198, number 206, like those type of three-digit numbers. Do you think those guys are on $100K a year? Give me a break, Seb. Come on, man. Columbus bottled it here, and it has nothing to do with money. We're talking about as a whole, certainly more money will attract better talent, better players. That's the name of the game. But you can't attract 3 or 4 players and pay those players high amounts of money and then everywhere else not have it. It's how you spend that money. You've got to be more than a top-heavy team. Unfortunately, right now, the powers that be in Major League Soccer think top-heavy equals marketing dollars, equals eyeballs and subscriptions for your TV platform. But sometimes those hard-working season ticket holders, those die-hard fans who are there day in, day out, they want to see you compete. They want to see you do well. And if you don't have enough of those players, enough of that depth, you're not going to do well.
There you have it. So Columbus Crew coming up short in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, losing to Pachuca, who punched their ticket to the FIFA Club World Cup to be played here in the United States in 2025.